Hey Shibu, thanks for joining us today. I'll start with a bit of introduction. So Shibu Abraham is a Salesforce MVP. He's a Golden Hoodie recipient, a marketing champion. He also heads the Salesforce practice APAC at UST and also runs Salesforce Cloud User Group Malaysia. So thanks Shibu for having us. And we can probably start with your journey. I know it has been looking at your profile, right? It has been 23, 24 years in a single organization. So how has the journey been and how did Salesforce stuck? I'm sure you didn't start off with Salesforce, right? So
Correct. Yeah. So 24th year in UST. So my first company as well. So Salesforce, I looked at it probably back around I think around 15, 16 years back. Before that, like my start was as a developer, and it was pre-.NET days. So look, we started with Visual Basic. ASP was my first programming language in the company. So then it moved to .NET and stuff like that. But then I moved to different roles, from a business analyst and a project management, delivery management. There was multiple roles that I went into like over the years. In Salesforce, I moved into, like I said, about 15, 16 years back. And then that time also, like, it was more not into actual technical implementation, but more of like, working with teams, working with on the business analyst side of things, on delivery management and things like that. I knew the platform, I knew how to configure and stuff. But then I would not dive too much details into I wouldn't dive too much into into the actual development, like in core Apex, and I never went into that much at all. Over the years, I would say maybe 5, 6 years back, that is when I seriously started like looking into some of the technical aspects of it, and then certifications, and that's when I think marketing also is something that was kind of a black box for us, right? So if you try to go back, and if you do a time warp back into like about 3, 4 years back, if you ask anybody about marketing cloud, there was very handful of people who knew. Like even in my team, I had like a few people, and they just left. So we had this marketing cloud instance sitting over there, and I was like, okay, no, what do I do with this? I have no idea, right? And that is, and because I'm like most developers are, when you have that programming background or you have that curiosity, like you're like, how does this all fit together? We have no idea. Like we know Sales Cloud, we know Service Cloud, we have seen a bunch of things, and marketing was like, okay, people don't know because there is no free org. Okay, there is no online videos, content like that as much as we have on the other side, on the core side of things. So, and the best part was when I started doing my certification journey and all that, email specialist was one of the earlier ones that we got. Okay, so there was actually a drive going on that time, and then it was like there was a special deal that they gave us, like you can take 2 certifications for the price of one or something like that. There was some deal at that time, and I chose like admin and email specialist. Okay, so admin I studied very nicely, because you know the stuff, and then it was great, and email specialist was like, yeah, what is so great about email? I'll just go through some documentation and just go write it out. I passed admin, I failed email. Okay, and I was like, so there's actually more to what this one is about, and then I went back and I actually went through that the whole documentation again, and then you have to keep in mind that I have not seen the platform. Okay, so it's kind of like you're looking at all the documentation and you're trying to study it from what they have said. So you're visualizing all these things, and then I'm like, okay, I'm assuming this is how it works and things like that. Second time I wrote it, I passed, but it's still inside somewhere you feel like that in Salesforce you pass 70% of it, good.
Yeah.
But 30% of it you might be wrong, so you don't know, right? You don't know, okay, what did I make mistake about? What is not correct? Because people say that you're certified tomorrow, you should be able to talk about it, right?
Talk about it.
And I was still not very happy. Then what we did is we actually I went into this platform. I started looking into things, and you won't believe it. I realized that some of the things that I visualized when I studied it was totally wrong. Okay. And which is when we started, I said, okay, if I make a mistake, imagine what people who are actually studying for this will actually feel. So when there was a chance, then I started looking into it. I started documenting some of the stuff, and then I started training some of my internal team members, because that time I think marketing was slowly, there are people who were asking, is there marketing, 1 or 2 projects that come up, and we didn't have people. So I said, okay, let's learn together. Like whatever I've learned, I've actually started teaching my own team. I get it, and that was when I was also learning. Like my own team members would ask me questions, and then I used to learn. Then I used to debate with them. We used to figure out. Then we used to go find the answers and come back. And that time, my mentor actually was like somebody that I looked up to was Elliot, like Elliot Harper. So he was. I actually went for his class in Singapore. He was having a boot camp something in Singapore. So he was one of my role models at back then. Like, that is one of the reasons why I actually even like Marketing Cloud in the first place. So I actually wanted to get more into it, figure out like, okay, how can I do it and how do I validate whatever I've done? Okay. And I fell in love with Automation Studio. Okay. So it's that part of that email specialist area that even more than journey builder that I like to, it's like a very nice suite that you can have where you can do a bunch of automations, but it's something that people really cannot understand unless and until you have that the tool. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is actually a good chunk. It's a good chunk of that actual exam. And people were like, and there is questions like, okay, in what order will you do this automation? Like, you have no idea unless and until if somebody tells you like how to do it just by looking at the documentation. It's very common that you will go wrong in that one, right? And there were at least 4 or 5 questions at that time, like that was specifically on automation. So I started I did what I said, okay, let me do a series on this one. Let me create some videos, so I did a 25-26 series video on Automation Studio. I did not have any subscribers at that time. I would say maybe very few people know that that was the first series. I did a blog on that and they said, okay, this is there. That's when I said, that's okay. I used to tell my team members, you go study because it's more detailed.
So that is when you started on this journey, or before that, or you were writing blogs and all, or you were not writing anything? This was the first time you started.
I did write a few blogs. I had so before diving more into Salesforce, I actually was also, the other passion that I have is Agile. Okay. So I've used to I have certifications I still have, and I used to coach a lot of Agile teams. I work with a lot of Agile teams. So I have written blogs, some of it on Agile. I used to attend a lot of conferences, and I used to work with building up Agile teams and all that. Right, and Salesforce was my second part of it because I used to do both together. Okay, then slowly I started focusing more into Salesforce. Okay? So, but still today, if there's a conversation on Agile, I'll sit immediately and jump in. So that is still one of my passions as well. So yeah, back to I was looking at some of these blogs. So I thought, okay, I will just whatever I like to write about, I will just start writing a little bit. But my YouTube channel, I specifically started for SFMC. Okay, so if you know that it's SFMC Trailblazers, that was primarily for Marketing Cloud. And one of my first videos and series was basically on Automation Studio because I felt when I was studying, I went and checked, there was no online content on it. Okay, so there was few 2-minute or 3-minute marketing videos that was from Salesforce, but that's it. So I created this entire each automation what is there, we kind of created it and then we put that in. And I know that okay, whenever you start a new series and if you're a new person who's doing content, it's not that okay, you will immediately become everybody will get to know about it. It will take time. It will take time. Yeah. That's fine. So I said that's okay. I told my team members, if you want to learn more about it, you can research about it. It's great. And the reason for doing that also, one second thing was I was also learning. Okay. And that is something I tell a lot of content creators or people who are learning and who want to do blogging. I always tell them, it doesn't matter if people know. Some people know or some people don't know. There will still be two things. One, you will learn because you are actually trying to produce content. You're validating your learning. Okay. Second is even if 100 people know, there are 1,000 people out there who do not know. So do it for them. So that's something. My message to people would be no, don't worry about people who say yeah, this is something I know. But what I always say is don't just simply put content out there. Do it from your perspective. You might have learned something, add your touch to it, and then say, okay, this is how I've learned it. And what is that one unique thing that you want to share with the audience on what I learned from it and how would I use it? So the people can get your perspective. So that's something that I always tell people, don't be hesitant and go for it. So
I've also started this, coming to the context, right? So I've also started this Salesforce admin series, very, very basic, but a lot of people who join our organization and I see a lot of freshers, right? they are still struggling to identify what is a record type, what is a page layout, right? That might be very basic. So I also started that, and initially I was like, why do I need to create content on this record type, right? It is very basic. But when you start creating that recording, you have to recap yourself, and you need to have your set of things to go through and recap stuff, prepare for that, even for record type. So I was like, okay, this is kind of my recap as well, and it is great. And you tend to take a lot of retakes. That 15 minutes video might take 5 hours, 10 hours. You never.
Content creation is not easy. Like, people
Not
think
easy.
like, okay, it's for creating like that 30 minutes of content, you might have to do at least 6 to 10 hours of prep minimum.
For
Like,
sure.
so even then recording. Yeah. So if you look at some of my old videos, you will see that people have complained like, no, your audio is too low. There are a lot of time I
Likewise.
said,
Likewise.
please forgive me. It is my first time. Like, so you get better at it as you go forward. Like, so that's it's something that you will learn along the way as well. So it's been a great journey so far.
Great. So you are still on the road to learning. You are exploring new things in marketing cloud as well, or you are starting to do something else. So what is the current plan?
I keep exploring everything under the Salesforce ecosystem. So I always look at because I look at from a cross because from actually my role is not only in marketing, right? My role is actually looking at the entire Salesforce
APAC.
practice for my company and my team in APAC, and even globally also, I do have a role to play. But then I focus on expanding into APAC as well. So I have to look at strategically, like, okay, how do build out, okay, if there's competencies that I need to look at. So all those things, you need to know, you need to be able to identify what is the latest things out there. For instance, right now you will see there's a lot of focus on industry clouds. Okay.
Yes.
So wherever we go, a lot of my customers, we are actually looking at even Salesforce brought forward. The focus will be on financial services cloud, and then there is health cloud. There is loyalty management. There is manufacturing. There's a lot of great tools out there right now. And if LWC was the go-to thing about 3-4 years back, the latest one I would say is Omni Studio. Okay.
For sure.
So I know it was part of the Velocity platform a few years back, but now every industry cloud slowly that is already being included. Very powerful that when customers actually buy one of these industry modules, then you need to know how to customize it using those as well, right? So I would say these two you should definitely know, LWC and Omni Studio.
And
Besides
yeah,
your regular Apex and things like that. So I would say those are coming in. And AI, like you've seen, it's coming
AI
in
is
all the time.
booming.
So yeah. So I don't know how Einstein GPT. I know it's just they just announced it. Curious to see how it will go. How we can get it into the platform, how it will actually change things as we go forward. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, but just to summarize, anything and everything under Salesforce, whatever comes in, I always try to figure out. For instance, I was talking about loyalty the other day. So I came across that one. Very surprisingly, I saw that loyalty and marketing cloud has that integration. I'd heard about it, but I wanted to research more about it. And there is actually inbuilt, pre-built templates and content blocks and all for loyalty with marketing cloud. So that is good to know. So sometimes unless and people might not know that. So for us, specifically for people who are in kind of my roles, it's important to know, because when you talk to a customer, you should be
You should
very
be aware of.
knowledgeable about what each platform supports. Right? Yeah.
For sure. So talking about marketing cloud, it is really hard to learn, specifically because you are not having the org, right? So even I am in the process of learning marketing cloud, and I am already scheduled my admin certification. I do have a org since we are partners with Salesforce, so we got a chance to have the org. But it is really hard. You cannot by looking at the video recordings, it is better, but documentation you can't understand anything, right? So it is very hard. They should have something like when you have purchase a voucher, they should at least give 1 month trial, something like that, like it used to be for CPQ long back. But it is really hard to get certified without actually logging into the platform. So what are your thoughts there? What should be the technique, and how should we do it? People who are not having access to the org and
Yeah, I
want to
mean,
learn
hands-on.
marketing cloud.
yeah, that is one of the pain points in the marketing area that people always bring up as well. So, I mean, I do understand why there could be a reason. I mean, people ask like, okay, why we cannot have DevOps? So what people need to understand is like, when you have a marketing cloud org, there is actually a lot of things behind the scenes that you need to authenticate, and then you need to be responsible, act very responsibly when you use the platform. For example, if you actually put in data and then you try to send out emails, it will actually go. The emails will go out, right?
Yeah.
So imagine like now we create a dev org, and you just like our core, or you create we enable it like dev org for thousands of people. Everybody starts sending out emails to whoever they want by mistake. I mean, you're learning, right? You never know that
Yeah.
you're not supposed to spam. So the entire thing will come down. So which is probably why it is not a good idea to actually have a dev org like that, enable for everyone. It's more controlled. Even the other channels also that you want to have, like the mobile SMS and all that you want to have, like it's not something that you should simply go and be able to use freely. That's why partners are enabled and they have controlled licenses. And even for partners also, you are supposed to authenticate with your domain. So even for
Yeah,
my
for sure.
my case also, when people come in, I've told them guys, if you use it, these are some of the do's and
Guideline.
don'ts. Don't put in
Don't spam.
that data, because we actually experienced it. We had loaded dummy data a long time back, and then by mistake, once when a campaign was one scenario we tried out, email was sent out to almost 1,000 people. 800 of those were actually invalid IDs, but 200 were valid IDs. So you can imagine that bouncing. So imagine if there were more records in the database, or in the data extension, and if it had gone out, it would have been a huge nightmare for us. So uh, yeah, with great power, you will say you will have
Greater
responsibilities as well, which
responsibility
is
for
why
sure.
you should be very careful when using such powerful platforms. And to answer of okay, what do then we recommend for people to do? Okay, there is two things I can think of. One is try to find an internship opportunity with a partner company. I don't know if customers do offer it, but mostly partner companies, sometimes they
Partners
open up
company.
internship. Yeah, they will open up internship, saying, okay, hey, we are looking for freshers to learn and train on marketing. There are training companies who do it. So there are a few training companies that might have an org, and they might want to it could be a paid thing. Trailhead Academy does it. They have the Trailblazer Bootcamp for marketing. So initially, I thought it was 6 months the org, but I came to know recently it's only probably maybe only 2 months. So you at
Yeah,
least
it is
get the org
2 months
for
again.
2 months, and so it's a 6 weeks training program, and then you get these the 2 months. But that's good. Okay.
That's good.
So you really get a good time to work with the platform as you learn. It'll give you a good exposure into okay, how things are, at least the basics part of it. But in development, you probably not. But I would say during that time, if you want, you can explore development as well, because that will, I mean, you can go learn AmScript on the side, and if you have the video, there's a lot of videos online right now. You can learn. You can practice as you are going through the rest of the basics of the platform as well. So, and I don't think that was very expensive. I know, I mean, with everything, when you compare to when freshers want to learn it, definitely everything is expensive for them because they're not earning. So, but if it is possible for them to invest, I would say that is one of the economic options to get an org, and then go through the actual training. You get trained by an authorized trainer as well, and then I would say go beyond what is being taught. Go online, find
And
out some
search
of these
for.
online training, and then utilize that 6 to 8 weeks very well with the platform. So by the time you're done with the 8 weeks, you not only learn what is being taught in the bootcamp, plus you learn some additional stuff, which you can then use for maybe if you want to approach an internship program, or if let's say companies are looking for some junior people. See, the main thing that people, when they interview, they look for is okay, I don't want to spend more time training you again. How good are you
Right.
at what you learned?
Right.
So if you, as a fresher, if you exhibit that, you say, I learned this, you ask me questions. We don't expect people to be, yeah, you should have done, X number of, campaigns that, if I take you into my team tomorrow, I give you a small piece of work, will you be able to do it? And then that's something that you can, I don't have time to sit and train
Time
you
to.
again from scratch about the platform, right?
And it
So
has
if
a cost as
people
well,
are
right?
smart enough,
It has a
correct,
cost
correct.
also, right?
So cost, yeah. And in the current economic conditions, I know that there's a lot of hiring freezes and things going on. So might not be a great time to have a lot of internship programs, but I would see that happening in the near future, like at least by the end of this year, hopefully things will get better, pick up. Work is always going to be there, like it's not going to go away, right? At some point in time, hopefully it will pick up. And I'm hoping like my people are going to get into the marketing side of things. They can go through one of these areas and then get into probably a good role.
Yeah. This has been a challenge at times, but I think if they follow these tips and tricks, maybe they'll land up with an internship soon. Great. So Shibu, since you are MVP, you are really active on events, like you are flying every now and then to all these events. So, a lot of people have this question, right? Why to attend conferences? I personally attend a lot of conferences, but what is your thought on this? Like, what is the use of attending a conference, and is it beneficial for even, junior folks who have just started or maybe in their midterm? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, great question. So, I actually before the pandemic, I attended a few events here and there. I know there was one TDX in Bangalore that we had. It was great. It was good to connect, and then mostly it is like local events that you have, right? But I've realized the importance of I mean, during COVID, I think many of us actually felt like, okay, the 2 years that we've not gone anywhere, you actually missed out on a lot of stuff, right? And with things going virtual, I think a lot of people came together. So it's kind of like, okay, we know each other, but we don't know. I mean, we have not met each other. So it's a great opportunity for now to people come back and then start interacting with a lot of people. So definitely, when you get a chance, I would say, don't lose it. It's always great to go and network and conference. You can the power of face-to-face networking is not something that you can easily get. Yeah, it's like very difficult when you're doing it virtually. You can get a small connect, but it's quite different when you're in the room, meeting someone, or meeting people. You never know who you will end up meeting with. You will have new friends, make new connections. And to our point earlier, when people are looking to get that, especially junior folks who are looking to make that next break, right? The connections are important. Okay, you go online, you do add somebody on LinkedIn. Okay, great, that's fine. But that connection is just that online connection. No, you might attend somebody's session. Okay, great. Okay, but still that personal connect is like, okay, when you actually go meet somebody in a session, talk to them about it, it's more memorable, so they can give you probably some tips and tricks, you learn from them, you network with them. Maybe maybe if you're a little bit of experience, you're looking for a change, you can actually talk to people and they can say, hey, by the way, this person is looking for somebody for your role, why don't you talk to him? You get a lot of connects as well, so you never know what's in store, so I would always recommend, if you get a chance, go for it, especially if it's in your region. And if it's not if it's not very expensive, do try to make it. And I would say the last, I think, year and this year, I've been focusing a lot more on local events, more than content creation. Actually, it's been pending quite a while. I need to get back into a little more content creation this year. But yeah, I mean, just hopefully after the Pune and the Ahmedabad ones, hopefully I get to come back on some of my content as well. So hopefully, let's see. But my recommendation is nothing beats the actual face-to-face networking. So it's a great opportunity always.
And I think Salesforce events, whenever you go, right, you talk to anybody there. Everybody is so helpful. They try to guide you, and they try to consult you, but they are willing to spend some time with you. So the ecosystem is really solid. And I won't mention the name, but recently I went to a very big conference, a huge conference of entrepreneurship, and I realized that the Salesforce conferences are a lot better managed, right? So for example, the agenda there was there, but it was not in form of a chart. It was just, okay, this time it was varied amongst different halls, right? So you had to scroll the entire page to identify, okay, which session should I attend. In our events, usually it is a comparative, right? That this time, this all, right? So this is one of the things, but Salesforce events are really greatly managed. And I was surprised to see that such a big conference compared to a Salesforce event, it is much more managed with a similar amount of folks. So it was 500 folks there, and I think in Ahmedabad it is 1,000 plus, right?
Yeah. So big events it has a lot of planning, a lot of work goes into it. Even for our smaller events that we had, like, it's not easy. Like, there's months of planning that goes into it. With a small team, if you try to do it, like, it's still a lot of work.
It's a lot of
Bigger
work.
events even mean, like, a lot of months of planning. A lot of people have to come in, volunteers. A lot of sacrifice goes behind the scenes just to make it great for that one day, that 8 hour period, to make it so great. There's a lot of pain that goes into it, right now. So we have done a lot of events. Imagine, like, many of us have actually gone through even for the user group events, right? Even
Yeah,
that itself, like,
that
just for
is a
that
lot
two
of it.
hours, we spend almost 2-3 weeks, like, planning, getting things ready for it. So you can imagine a large scale event with people coming in, where there's registrations involved. There's, like, and the content, the speakers, all those things. A lot of
Take a lot of
things
courage.
can go wrong. Like, if you don't look at it, like, so you want to make sure that it's a great experience for everyone coming in. So yeah, there's a lot of pain that goes into it, and Salesforce has been doing it for a long time now.
A
So
long time.
they have a great team behind the
Mm.
scenes who actually look at. They have a template, they have the applications and all that. So they have the proper infrastructure to, like, follow and do that. We cannot compare with what Salesforce has over the years they've been doing it. I mean, each type of event is different for them. For instance, for the World Tours that they have, Dreamforce that they have, TDX, so they have specific,
Specific
protocols that
names.
they follow. Yeah, and our events, great. I'm happy to see, like, the last couple of great events that we are having. Like, SaaS was there, now India Dreaming is coming in. So I'm happy to see, like, large scale events coming up in India and then in the region as well.
Yeah.
Developer Days is coming back. I heard, like, so I think Jaipur and Hyderabad they've announced, and third city they're yet to announce. So happy to see that also coming again this year. Let's see. Hopefully,
Yeah.
more people can come attend and learn as well.
And everything is, on time. So if it is 10 a.m., it has to be at 10 a.m. So that is something
Exactly.
very good about it. And if it has to end at 10:30, there are moderators standing there, finish it out. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Time.
but
It's all about timing, like, because you need to,
yeah,
like, value, like, people who are coming in. People, so there
yeah,
are people who are coming from different cities as well.
different
They might be
continents,
planning in
right?
such a way. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they might be planning to, like, leave at a certain time. So if 5 minutes you extend every session, it'll, by the time you end of the day, you will end up, like, 1 hour late. Like,
1
that's
hour
going to be
later.
very,
Yeah.
very, like, yeah, difficult. So
So Shibu, I ask this question to everybody, right? So what are your thoughts on certifications? People are running behind certifications. So I know they are important, but with a certain amount of knowledge as well, right? So, but what are your thoughts here?
yeah. Certificates are important. I wouldn't say no, but don't take it for the sake of taking certifications. So if you just take it just for the number, no. I had to take it specifically because after years of working on the platform, like, and I've seen it, I wanted to learn more about each of those areas. So I actually went after it and to learn each of these areas and things like that. Like, and then if you ask me, like, if I remember everything that I learned, no. Like,
No.
if you keep practicing about it, like, then you would know. Like, so um, focus on specific areas that you actually feel are going to benefit you. Okay, in the work
Mm.
area that you are. Maybe if you're a developer, then there are actually, like, great ones that you need to, like, focus on the developer areas. If you are into the architect and the stream, like, there are some specific ones for architect as well. Consulting is different. So look at all these areas and then definitely go for them. But uh, like I said, like, see, I told you the very example that I told you was on email. Okay, I actually took it even before I mean, you can go and take it without having hands-on, but end of the day, you will not feel satisfied. Right?
Good about it,
So
yeah.
try to have some hands-on, then take the certification, validate your understanding. So certificates are primarily validating
Variation of your
what I've
certifications.
done. Is it true? Like, is it good? Like, so that is what we are looking at, right? And tomorrow, if you say, okay, you're certified, and then you want to, like, tell people that, okay, I'm certified. You're going to an employer, okay, and then you're saying, hey, I'm certified. You can expect them to ask you questions on that. Okay, at that
For sure.
particular time, you say, like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. They'll say, hey, you certified. You are certified. Why don't you? So that's one of the big things that I've seen with junior folks. Like, they go after, badges. They go after certifications. I'm not saying no, you should, but when you do that, make sure you learn,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just for, gamification points. So you learn. Like, if you say I've taken this badge or this super badge, make sure you can justify what I've learned and then apply. How do you apply that knowledge? Like, what have you used it for? Most of us, like, we are all, like, senior folks. When we look at, like, hiring people, we don't look at, like, people who are going to mug, or, by heart and then
Yeah,
come
for
and tell things, or
yes.
just basic theory. We are not asking. Okay, what did you learn and how are you applying it? Okay, how is he or she going to be useful, like, when he comes into a team? if you give some amount of work, how are they going to practically think about it, and how are they going to apply their knowledge? So what will their approach going to be like? That is all what we are looking at.
That is
We are
all.
not looking at, okay, you have to be a superstar coming in, like, no, you should know everything behind the scenes. No. So that is my advice on, like, on certificate. Definitely good to have, okay, but it's primarily to validate like what you have
Right.
learned, and then make sure, like, you're able to, like, go ahead and justify whatever you have learned, and then explain to other folks, like, if they're asking about it.
Great. Thanks for your thoughts on that. And that is mostly asked question. Everybody is asking why a certification is important and stuff like that. So for the closure, what is your one tip for anybody who is watching this and wants to grow his career? So what are your tips, since you have been in the industry for almost 24 years? So what are your tips? What should we do?
Um, there's a lot of things, like, a lot of people have mentioned as well. So there's a lot of great tips that people might have given. My usual tip to people is, like, leveraging the community. That's always been my take. So even for, like, experienced people or junior folks, whoever is actually coming into the ecosystem, the Salesforce community is one unique one that I've seen, because I was not in Salesforce before, right? And I came to it, like,
Yeah.
15 years back, 16 years back when I came in. I realized about the community quite late, but then I actually have seen other communities as well. I've seen agile communities. I've seen, like, other, like, technology communities as well. Salesforce is one that is actually driven by passion. It's driven by the people.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
that is why it is very successful. Okay, so if the company were to drive it, it wouldn't be this successful. It's driven entirely by the people, by the community. They have the passion for it, which is why, like, I would say you should, whoever comes into it, you are welcomed into it as a family.
Yeah,
Okay, you embrace it, like, and learn from it, like, and then you have to give it back. Once you've learned, you've become, like, part of the family, like, as you grow, then there will be others who are going to come into the community, like, then, like you, like how you have come across in your journey, you should be able to, like, give it back to them. That's what
contribute.
I would always advise people to do as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Shibu. Thanks for joining us, taking out time on the weekend and joining us.
So sounds good.